Hello there, very good evening and welcome to your Primetime News Bulletin with me, Shane Silva.
And I'm Dasnia Thabe. Let's start off with a look at tonight's headlines.
Army Corporal injured in shooting in Ratmalana. FCID records statement from former Defence Secretary Gotabaya Rajapaksa. Sri Lankan Airlines gave entire in-flight duty-free process to Phoenix duty-free services without following tender procedure. Witness testifies. Residents of Hambantota Suriyawa protest over unpaid compensation. Postal Workers strike action continues.
Security units say the shooting this morning in the Ratmalana area, which left an army corporal injured, was the result of a personal dispute. Meanwhile, one person was injured in another shooting in the Kotahena area last night.
Around 7:20 this morning, an army corporal was injured in a shooting down Chakindarama Road in Ratmalana, which falls under the Mount Lavinia Police Division. Army media spokesperson Brigadier Sumit Atapattu said the victim who was shot is Corporal Amal Yasis Prabhat, a driver of Lieutenant Colonel W.D.C. Pereira. The corporal sustained injuries to his left arm and was admitted to the Colombo South Teaching Hospital for treatment. Police said the shooting was carried out by gunmen who arrived in a three-wheeler and motorbike when the army corporal had arrived at the Lieutenant Colonel's residence in the official vehicle. Further investigations are underway. Meanwhile, the victim, who was shot down Jampata Street in Kotahena last night, is receiving treatment at the intensive care unit of the Colombo National Hospital. The victim, identified as Karupaya Palani Ganesh, a father of three and a resident of 137th Watta, was shot by two gunmen on a motorbike around 9:15 last night. The victim's wife had been murdered by a certain group around 3 years ago. Police believe two of the suspects behind the murder were killed by Ganesh's two sons and that yesterday's shooting are connected to this dispute. The Kotahena police are conducting further investigations into the shooting. A program will be initiated to eradicate such gangs. This has become something essential over the past few days. Ever since the end of the war, various gangs have got a hold of weapons which they have been using for some time. We are investigating those matters as well.
Present-day police officers have been given the training, knowledge and skill and weapons to control crime. However, they do not have a safe working environment. There is the Police Commission, the department and the government. They must provide better leadership to these personnel. It is only then that you can create a safe working environment. What is the cause of the wave of crimes which is destroying lives day in and day out?
There was a war and it is likely that weapons may have been misused on a large scale. The other concern is if weapons could have been brought to Sri Lanka illegally via the port or otherwise. But none of this concerns civil ordinance. The Secretary of the Ministry of State Defence is the competent authority to issue firearms. A gun or a pistol at most does not fall under the firearms ordinance. It is issued based on a certain purpose. It may be for self-defence, protection of crops, sports activities and for the transportation of money. Licenses are issued for these matters which have to be renewed every year.
Small arms are circulating in the country, but they are not detected. Yet it takes place in large scale. In 2005, former President Chandrika Kumaratunga appointed a national commission to deal with the proliferation of illicit small arms and light weapons. Weapons were collected in 2006. We see the paramount importance of such a commission. We are not aware of the post-war weapons circulating in Sri Lanka. In 1988, local government members were given weapons like the AK-47, but those were never recovered. The innocent people will have to face the consequences of this. Accusations have been levelled at various parties over criminals and underworld gangs coming into possession of modern automatic firearms. Key among those who are facing accusations are the Avantgarde company, which provided maritime security services under the previous government, and Rakna Lanka, the government agency which supplied firearms to them. There are several questions which must be raised at this instance. How many firearms did Rakna Lanka supply to Avantgarde? Were all of these firearms returned to the security forces? What fate befell the firearms whose serial numbers had been removed? Was a proper audit carried out regarding the stocks of arms and ammunition in the possession of Rakna, Lanka and Avantgarde? While justice must be served on the underworld gangs and criminals who menace our society, shouldn't the government immediately take steps to identify those who have paved the way for such gangs to come into possession of advanced modern weapons and ammunition?
More local news follows after this commercial break. Welcome back to the news. A protest was held outside the Hambantota administrative complex today, demanding that compensation be paid for lands acquired by the state.
The demonstrators engaged in this protest, demanding that the promised compensation be paid for lands which were acquired by the state in order to develop the Suryaveva Hambantota Road, also known as the 100-foot road, in 2014. 438 people lost their homes and lands as a result of this project. The demonstrators have been engaged in a hunger strike for 4 days now, demanding that the promised compensation be paid. The demonstrators marched from Suryaveva to the Hambantota administrative complex. A few hours later, the demonstrators entered the complex. A regional development committee meeting was underway at the time. The police intervened to stop the demonstrators from entering the hall where the meeting was taking place. Subsequently, Minister Mahinda Amaravira intervened and held talks with the protesters.
Their grievance is just. At a previous hunger strike, we intervened and paid the compensation that was due. We paid out 204 million rupees. However, these people are charging that this money went to those who were at the business level and that the people who were engaged in the hunger strike didn't receive any money. We ask for a report on this. If a mistake has been made by some official, then we will certainly take action. At the moment, we have decided to inform Cabinet of this and to take steps to secure the money for this through a Cabinet paper. As soon as the Cabinet paper is approved and the Finance Ministry releases the funds, we will take steps to pay it to the people. If I were to tell you a definite time frame, then we would receive a bad name. I would like it if we could do this within a month. We are being forced to pay for the crimes of the previous government.
The protesters dispersed following the promises made by the authorities. Postal workers who are on strike staged a demonstration opposite the Central Mail Exchange today. It has been 15 days since the postal workers launched their trade union action in protest against the current recruitment procedure. Around 25 postal trade unions took part in the demonstration. Postal workers from several parts in the country also staged demonstrations in support of the trade union action.
We were given a discussion at the Salaries Commission at 10 this morning to resolve the issues concerning Circular number 6 of 2006. We expect the Commission would give us a positive response. If not, we will continue this strike action. This system is not only destroying the postal industry, but all other state institutions as well. We are engaging in this struggle to oppose that.
When contacted, Minister of Posts, Postal Services and Muslim Religious Affairs Abdul Halim said solutions to these issues will be provided by tomorrow. Minister Abdul Halim said a special program is in place to distribute the mail which is stockpiled due to the strike action. The minister said both local and foreign mail have stockpiled at post offices as a result of the strike action.
Former Defence Secretary Gotabaya Rajapaksa returned to the Police Financial Crimes Investigation Division today to provide a statement over the charge that he misused state funds in constructing the D.A. Rajapaksa Museum.
While a case has already been filed in this regard with the Magistrates Court, Gotabaya Rajapaksa arrived at the FCID at about 9 a.m. today to provide a statement following a court order. Rajapaksa left the FCID at about noon and responded to questions posed by journalists who had gathered outside.
I went to court and I was informed to come today and give evidence. So I came to give evidence. The FCID has finished its work and they will act in the future. That must be decided by court. As far as I know, we have repaid the entire amount. The court must decide. This is to do with advice given by the Anunayaka Thero at a private event at my home. I did not know that I was such an important person for various ministers to make statements about this in public. This was a sermon given at an ordinary person's residence. Even Lord Buddha has said that when preaching, you must preach only to people who have the wisdom to understand what you are preaching. I understood everything that was said in that sermon. It is those who have not understood it that are making statements about it. No, I am yet to take such action. President Mahinda Rajapaksa has not informed me about contesting the presidency. When such a moment arises, it can be done. No, it can be done within 2 months.
In a story we received just a while ago, Manil Rohana alias Tilak, a key accomplice of Makandura Madhush, was killed in a shootout with the police special task force in Kamburupitiya, Matara. He succumbed to his injuries en route to the Kamburupitiya hospital.
In the meantime, at a media briefing convened in Colombo today, left-wing parties shared their thoughts on the recent statement made by the Anunayaka of the Askeri chapter of the Siam sect, Venerable Vandarue Upalithera, regarding Gotabaya Rajapaksa.
There is no singular ideology in the joint opposition. We in the left have one position, which is that the example of Hitler is dangerous and wrong. The others have different ideas. That is why I said there is a difference in opinion. There are two sides. It is extremely unfortunate if there is a group that wants to speak in favor of Hitler's methods, because that is working for fascism.
The Commission to investigate allegations of bribery or corruption recorded a statement from the former mayor of Kotte, Janakaranavaka, today with regard to a complaint he has lodged against Minister Malik Samaravikrama.
The former mayor of Kotte lodged a complaint with the Bribery Commission against Minister Samaravikrama on the 7th of February this year, revealing an illegal acquisition of land causing a massive loss to the government. After giving his statement to the Commission, the former mayor spoke to the media.
According to the government valuer, the value of this land in August 2013 was 180 million rupees. So since there wasn't a road to go to this land, the chairman of the Road Development Authority forcefully acquired 8 purchases of land belonging to the Kotte Municipal Council to build a road. This caused a loss of 40 million rupees to the Kotte Municipal Council. The value of this land in 2013 was 220 million, much more than what it is now. So Minister Malik Samaravikrama is enjoying the benefits of this 220 million rupee land which he has forcefully acquired. I call on the Bribery Commission today to initiate legal action against Minister Malik Samaravikrama, the chairman of the Urban Development Authority and the commissioner of the Kotte Municipal Council. If Malik Samaravikrama can forcefully acquire a state-owned land and get away with it, what more needs to be said about the general public of the country? If the law is being properly enacted, it should be implemented from top to bottom, regardless of the status of the thief. Why isn't anything being done against Malik Samaravikrama? Is he God? Malik Samaravikrama is not the country's president nor prime minister. This 220 million rupee fraud is lying at plain sight.
The Intercompany Employees Union convened a media briefing in Colombo today.
In this letter, Deputy Governor of the Central Bank, K.D. Ranasinghe, writes to the Treasury Secretary that if a tax is imposed on the Employees' Provident Fund, the benefit paid out to members will reduce by 1.5%. Not only that, the employees' annual investment income, which was in the double digits at 10%, will drop to single digits at 9%. We pay our taxes. The Employees Provident Fund pays the withholding tax on its investments. Now they are imposing another tax on the investment income. This was only noted in the books earlier. These taxes did not impact the EPF in the past. When the new act was introduced, we asked that they follow the old system for the EPF and that this must not be changed. The government is attempting to raise 300 billion in taxes from the EPF. So the employees' benefits will be 2.6 million and it will reduce from 10.6 to 9%. It is illegal to tax the EPF. They have also stolen from the 20,000 university staff members. If the investment of these funds in the bond scam is to be investigated, a second presidential commission can be appointed and it can be completed in 3 months. They are attempting to cover up the robbery of the EPF. The government is saying that of the 11,500 million withheld by the central bank, 4,500 million accounts for the losses of the EPF. Recover the losses calls to 5 state institutions. They are attempting to recover 8 billion of the money that was withheld from Aloysius. This is the report. The EPF lost 8.5 billion according to the report of the Presidential Commission and not 4.5 billion. Recently, the figures on economic growth were also changed in the central bank report. So we say to the government, immediately withdraw this tax proposal without forcing the private sector employees to also converge on Colombo. The Employees Provident Fund contains the hard-earned savings of the working people of Sri Lanka. The profits earned through the fund's investments belong to its members. The government is going to tax the dividends paid to EPF members. However, when for some reason the EPF incurs losses on its investments, who should be held accountable for that? It is the EPF members themselves who are now being forced to bear the losses incurred as a result of using the EPF to buy bonds from Perpetual Treasuries Limited. While this is the situation in Sri Lanka, recently in Singapore, a portion of the government's total revenue was paid out to citizens as a bonus, highlighting their socially responsible governance.
Former Central Bank Governor Ajit Niwad Cabral made a public statement in Kandy yesterday regarding the state of the economy.
Think about it. When someone takes a loan, when do they realize that it is difficult to repay it? When they lose their job, they are fearful of being able to repay the loan. If they have the job, then they can finance the housing loan. What is happening today is that both the jobs and the interest rates have been lost. At the same time, the rupee is depreciating. The interest rate has increased by 50%. The only thing we can think of is that we cannot continue on this journey with this management.
Former Central Bank Governor Ajit Niwad Cabral. It appears that you too have forgotten the past. While you may have forgotten what you said and did during your term as Central Bank Governor from the 1st of July 2006 to the 9th of January 2015, the people of this country have not forgotten. Don't you bear some of the responsibility for the state of the economy today? Have you forgotten the moment when you thought it would be prudent to invest the savings of the working people of Sri Lanka in the sovereign bonds of Greece, an economy which had been identified by the entire world as being on the brink of collapse in 2011? Let alone the earnings. The failure to recover even the initial investment caused the country to incur a loss of more than 2,100 million rupees as a result of this transaction. The people of this country have also not forgotten your intervention in introducing a hedging deal with regard to the procurement of fuel. Wasn't it because of this wrong decision that Sri Lanka paid $110 per barrel of crude oil in 2007 and 2008, at a time when the price of a barrel of oil was about $80 in the global market? Eventually, the banks that signed the agreement with Sri Lanka recovered their money by filing a case against the country at the High Court in London. What benefit did the country receive by loading a chartered flight with cronies to fly to London in 2013 in order to secure the hosting rights for the 2018 Commonwealth Games for Hambantota? There is also no reason why anyone should have forgotten the artificial pumping and dumping of shares in the Colombo Stock Exchange. Wasn't it during your term as governor of the central bank that the Employees Provident Fund incurred massive losses by investing in pumped and dumped shares so that a select few could earn massive profits? There are countless occasions which can be highlighted, including the Hyatt Hotel project and the Malaysian Fund, where the savings of the working people of Sri Lanka, the EPF, were invested with absolute disregard for the losses that would be incurred. There is no mystery surrounding the fact that about 500 million rupees of the Employees Provident Funds of the Central Bank and Ceylon Electricity Board disappeared during your term as Governor of the Central Bank. Former Governor Ajit Niwad Cabral. These are but a few instances which must not be forgotten.
Mr. Ajit Niwad Cabral, the former governor of the Central Bank of Sri Lanka. We have a lot that we can talk about. We remember what the economy was like when you took office, and we remember what you left the economy to be when you left office. Finally, we have this for you.
When the new government was elected in 2015, a case was filed in court over the conduct of Ajit Niwad Cabral. Attorney-at-law Kalum Darshana Kumarasinghe filed a case over the irregularities surrounding the Greek bonds and produced a comprehensive report to court as well. When the case was taken up at the Colombo Chief Magistrates Court, Provincial Councillor Renuka Pereira, who was a well-known associate of Cabral, filed a case in court against then-Governor of the Central Bank of Sri Lanka, Arjuna Mahendran, over the central bank treasury bond scam. Notice was issued on Arjuna Mahendran over the bond scam. However, at a time when discussions took place in court on issuing notice on Cabral and former President Mahinda Rajapaksa in the case filed against Cabral, both parties withdrew their cases. The cases were withdrawn on the 27th of August, days ahead of the general elections. The relationships that come about these incidents are also astounding. Perpetual Treasuries Limited, the primary dealer involved in the treasury bond scam, was given permission to operate as a primary dealer in 2013 when Ajit Niwad Cabral was the governor of the Central Bank of Sri Lanka. At that time, his sister Shiromi Wickramasinghe was a director in the Perpetual Group. PTL was given permission to operate as a primary dealer at a time when its holding company, Perpetual Capital Holdings, did not even meet the minimum requirement expected from a primary dealer. Ajit Niwad Cabral. You might assume the people of this country are unaware of these incidents. What we can say to you is, people who live in glass houses shouldn't throw stones.
Civil organizations charge that a sum of around 1 billion rupees of the University Employee Provident Fund and the UGC Provident Fund has been invested in Perpetual Treasuries Limited to buy treasury bonds. Former Minister of Higher Education Kabir Hashim responded to these accusations in Kegol today.
I was appointed the Minister of Higher Education during the 100-day government, and I think I served in that position only until March. On the 22nd of March, Dr. Sarath Amunugama took over that ministry. On the 19th of June, the University Grants Commission took a decision to initiate an investment of theirs through the NSB Bank. Now the claim is that this apparent investment took place during my tenure, but I was not involved whatsoever. I want to say this to those who speak without facts.
The body of a 6-year-old girl was found in a well in the Sullipuram area in Jaffna this evening. The victim was identified as a grade 1 student. The Vadukote police visited the crime scene today and has begun investigations into the incident.
On to another story that made the headlines tonight. Sri Lankan Airlines has given the entire in-flight duty-free process to Phoenix duty-free services without following a tender procedure. This revelation was made at the Presidential Commission of Inquiry today. Newsfirst Zulfiq Farzan reports.
Ashmukh Ferdinand, the in-flight services manager at Sri Lankan Airlines, said in 2011, when tenders were called to supply perfumes and cosmetics for duty-free sales, several bidders had come forward and they included Phoenix Rising Ventures, International Sales Group and King Power Limited. International Sales Group, however, had highlighted none of their partners or affiliated companies were permitted to bid for this particular tender using its name or brand. Surprisingly, Phoenix Rising Ventures had submitted a tender stating it was in the business for 20 years through International Sales Group and its affiliated companies. Another surprising factor was that the letters submitted by PRV from suppliers authorizing PRV to sell their goods were identically worded, and the only difference was the signature and the name of the supplier. All letters stated PRV was the winner of the Sri Lankan Airlines contract and they are interested in supplying their goods, but the letter of intent is not a contract. It appears Phoenix Rising Ventures had informed the suppliers they had won the tender even before the tender was opened. As the senior tender board had recommended to award the tender to PRV, an offer letter was sent to them requesting them to accept, sign and return the document. A factor that came to light at the commission was Sri Lankan Airlines had made their initial purchase order of the duty-free goods before even signing an agreement. This particular contract was only for a period of 6 months. 1 month later, rather than reverting to the offer, PRV had sent a proposal addressed to the chairman of Sri Lankan Airlines, Nishantha Wickramasinghe, and CEO Kapila Chandrasena. PRV had proposed to move away from only supplying fragrances and cosmetics and wanted Sri Lankan Airlines to outsource the entire duty-free program to them for a period of 7 years. The proposal, though addressed by PRV, says the process will be taken care of by Phoenix Duty-Free Services based in Sri Lanka and was signed by Dilan Weerasinghe as the CEO. PRV had given the proposal directly to the chairman and CEO of Sri Lankan Airlines, and they had handed it to the board of directors for approval. It had been simply approved by the board, deviating from the usual norm of following a tender procedure. Another surprising factor was that at the same time, King Power Limited, which is chaired by Rakita Jayawardena, had also submitted an alternative proposal similar to what was submitted by PRV. Despite prevailing public outcry, the questioning of witnesses at the Presidential Commission of Inquiry led much to be desired of. The people saw how Prime Minister Ranil Wickremesinghe, Ministers Kabir Hashim and Malik Samaravikrama were questioned with kid gloves on. To add insult to injury, it was reported that a commissioner's family member worked for MP Harsha De Silva based at Temple Trees while the inquiry was still going on. Following the conclusion of the Presidential Commission of Inquiry, there were allegations of the Commission report making its way to a certain residence before it was released. Subsequently, certain names were withheld for ostensibly secrecy considerations, and the President's Secretary proceeded to archive parts of the Bond Commission report for reasons best known to him. It is in the light of this tomfoolery and displaced public trust that a commission was appointed to investigate Sri Lankan Airlines. We as journalists continue to report the day's proceedings from the Presidential Commission of Inquiry. Our only hope is that in the days, weeks and months to come, we won't have to report on similar tactics of aversion and mischief. The Commission, commissioners and all those involved must remember that they will be judged by the public. You can fool some of the people all of the time, all of the people some of the time, but never all of the people all of the time.
The 85th model village constructed under the Samata Sevana Yali Pibidena Udagammana program was vested with the public today. The event was graced by Deputy Leader of the United National Party, Minister Sajith Premadasa.
The village, which was constructed in the Samagipura area in the central Nuwara Gampalata in Anuradhapura, has been named as Prabhashana Gama. The village, constructed at a cost of 24.2 million rupees, comprises of 25 houses. Title deeds and housing loans were presented by the minister at the event. The Udagammana village concept commenced following the general elections, and by the end of next year, we will reach the target of 2,500. I can responsibly state, come the 1st of January 2020, we will commence the construction of another 5,000 Udagammana villages. We will do so after taking over the post of president in this country. Gammudava was not created for the rules. This benefits the villagers. The aim is to ensure the village is supreme.
President Maithripala Sirisena has drawn his attention towards the pollution of the Parakrama Samudra, causing a destruction on its natural beauty. The President raised the issue when he arrived at the Parakrama Samudra this morning to take part in physical exercises.
The President's Media Division said upon inspecting the levels of pollution close to the Parakrama Samudra, President Sirisena had instructed the relevant officials to find solutions to the issue. President Sirisena instructed the officials to install garbage disposal bins and take measures against those disposed garbage in an improper manner. The President further said he will regularly review the matter.
And that's a wrap of Primetime News for tonight. For the Newsfirst team, I'm Dasni Apalda.
And I'm Shane Silva. Take care and good night.